small group of neighbors gathered to witness the violent end of my grandparents' home. We stood across Linwood Avenue on a small patch of grass near the old plum tree and watched the workers prepare. The foundation of their home was made of brown sandstone blocks, salvaged in the early days of the 20th century by my great-grandfather from an earlier version of the Dutchess County Courthouse. My earliest childhood memory is being outside that house watching adults cheer, wave American flags, and set off firecrackers. My grandfather walked over to me and asked if I knew why people were celebrating. "Yes, there is a new flag," I said. He asked if I understood why there was a new flag. "Yes, because now there are 50 stars, since Alaska and Hawaii are states," I replied. My grandfather smiled and patted my head. My fondest memories of the house were the holiday feasts, populated with a variety of relatives, which now seem like the Norman Rockwell painting, Freedom from Want. I also recalled my grandfather's large vegetable garden and the fruit trees around the house, apple, cherry, pear, and plum. He grew different things each year depending on his whim. I recall crops of sweet corn, potatoes, pumpkins, and more. He ate some of the produce and gave away the rest. I remember my grandmother handing me a large empty bowl and saying, "Pick me some cherries and I'll make a pie." Later, a cherry pie warm from the oven appeared like magic. I also remember the keg of dark German beer my grandfather kept on tap in his basement, along with a sign that proclaimed, "Minors will not be served." Because I was a wise guy, I complained that I wasn't a miner. I had never been in a mine. The workers were now ready to begin. One climbed onto the bulldozer and started the engine. He put the dozer in gear and slowly advanced towards the building. When the blade of the bulldozer struck the sandstone blocks, the dozer stopped abruptly, but the steel treads continued to turn. A murmur of approval rippled through the neighbors watching. A lady complained, "How can the city take someone's home and knock it down?" A man nearby tried to explain the concept of eminent domain. He added that the city was going to build a new road called the North-South Arterial Highway through this property. The driver conferred with the foreman. Then he slowly backed away from the building, shifted gear, and drove the bulldozer forward much faster. The building shuddered when struck, but remained undamaged. The onlookers cheered when the second attempt at demolition failed. Some speculated that larger, more powerful equipment would be needed and the house would survive at least one more day. Again, the driver spoke with the foreman. After a long and animated conversation, the driver turned the dozer so it was facing away from the building and turned off the engine. The excited onlookers were optimistic and wondered how long it would take to bring in more powerful equipment. Then, a long chain was produced, and workers threaded it through the first floor windows. Both ends of the chain were connected to the back of the bulldozer. And it pulled. Pulling the chain caused the first floor to buckle outward and the second floor to collapse downward. In resignation, the neighbors began to drift away. None wanted to watch as the broken remnants of that fine old home were humbled further. Months later, the city of Poughkeepsie decided to change the location of the new highway. Instead of passing through Linwood Avenue, it would go through a nearby forest. My father salvaged a few sandstone blocks and incorporated them into a stone wall. And the medical building at 7 Fox Street now stands where my grandfather's vegetable garden once grew.